This is the DCC111 Napoleon Blown Apart project. This is my beading and ribbon embroidery sample from the other day. I do plan to do more on this. This is just what I managed to complete during this session. So this is the fabric that I'm going to be using for one of the sleeves. The kind of like Shields green type curtain fabric that I managed to find. It's still got the curtain hemming on it, but it's not ironed, which I'm very thankful for. There was a fabric I got, another pair of curtains I got one time, and they used hemming tape, and that was the worst. So I wanted to pick. I picked the kind of like pinky rose and not rosy, like pinky wine coloured ribbon. Is like a complementary colour to the green, and then I've got the yellow and gold, which are more analogous. I think these colours work really well together, and the pearls look quite nice as well. This is the beading sample I did. I got this from a girl on YouTube in the States called Angela Clayton, and she does a lot of costume, like historical costumes and embroidery stuff, and I find her work really interesting. And this is like a kind of beaded rope effect that she did a tutorial on. I'll put a link in the description. But I just found it really interesting, and I've done a sample of it before, and it works really, really well with the larger pearls. I'm not really sure it's the right kind of look for the time period that I'm going for. It looks sort of more like Edwardian or Victorian, but I just wanted to have a try to see how it looked, and I quite like it. I think it might be a bit too ornate for this time period as well. Another thing I wanted to try was this this ribbon beaded combination. It looks quite, it makes a nice trim. It's quite, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? I think it's a nice way of using the wider ribbons for the ribbon embroidery, because I quite like the wider ones and the organza ribbons especially, but there's no way I'm going to be able to thread those through a needle and do the kind of traditional ribbon embroidery. So being able to use it in ways like this, maybe not in a straight line, maybe I could do like a rosette, or add it as like a trim on a bow, something like that would be quite good. I do quite like the organza ribbon though, because it sort of like, the colours mesh really well together. For the traditional ribbon embroidery, I've got a line of straight stitches there. I've got a line of French knots, and then I've got the chain stitch, and then I can't remember what this one's called, like a twisted rope stitch. I quite like this effect. I will definitely be using this on my sleeves. Well, at least definitely this one, maybe the second one as well. The chain stitch is quite easy to do. The French knots I had a lot of trouble with. I think a lot of people did in the class as well. Basically, it took a while to figure out. The way I was doing it, I was wrapping the needle around and then looping back what had been thread through the needle over the tip of the needle, and then putting it back through. And it worked, it sort of worked, but there were places like here where the ribbon has it's sort of started unwinding itself, and it's just kind of not sitting as close to the fabric as I'd like. Sebastian found a video that had a much easier way of doing it, which is where you just wrap it around, you put the needle in the fabric, and then you pull the wrapped around bit tight, and then you pull the needle through. And they look so much better done that way rather than this kind of like messy way here, because like these ones are sort of, they're more like, they just kind of stick up and look really odd and awkward, and they took a lot longer to do that way, so I'll probably be using the other technique a lot more. The French knots are kind of, I quite like them, quite sweet, and they're good for like flowers and smaller motifs like that, because which were used quite often in the kind of patterns. I'd like to do more beading. I'd like to maybe try and incorporate the ribbon embroidery and combine it with the black work in some way. And I'd like to try making sort of like silk flower type ones. I didn't get around to trying that technique out in class, so I'm going to try and do that at some point this week, just to kind of see how it works and what it's like. I quite enjoyed it. One thing I didn't get around to looking at was the tambour beading, but that I'm still trying to figure it out in my head how you do that, so I'm going to watch some videos about that. I'm not sure if I'll have the equipment to try it out, but it looks like quite an interesting technique. One that's used quite a lot, especially in like couture, dressmaking, fashion type things. And I've heard that it's a lot faster than beading by hand traditionally, so that would be a good use for costume because it doesn't take as long. And yeah, the ropes here on the beading, I've had to couch them down a lot more than they had in the tutorial, just because for costume things are going to get pulled around a lot, things might fray and like come apart, so these are quite secure now. It would still be, like the bigger beads especially, that would still be an issue. I guess using a stronger thread for those ones in particular would be a good idea.